Hello everyone, my name is Tracy and I enjoy creating whimsical watercolor paintings. If you think that you can't paint this scene, if you follow my video step by step, you will be able to create this wonderful whimsical landscape. So grab your pencil and your watercolor supplies and let's get started. Our first step is to lay down the pencil sketch. So the first thing that I'm going to do is draw a whimsical frame. This is just going to be a rectangle with a few extra lines in the corners and some dashes along the top and the bottom. These dashes do not have to be even or straight. Next, we are drawing the sun, and then we'll draw the 3 clouds. Then we're going to draw in our 3 hill sections. So I start with the foreground one, and then the middle, and then the background hill. We're going to draw in our foreground trees and plants first, and then that will let us know how much space we have in the middle and the backgrounds to add some more items. And these can just be suggestions of trees, very simple shapes. And then I erase the part of the hill that the tree was drawn through, so that way it'll look like it's in the foreground. So I'm just going to let you follow along with the video for the rest of the drawing part of it, and then I will get back to you when we start to paint. Now that we've finished our sketch, we can start to paint. The first thing I'm going to do is fill in the sun with clear water, and then I'm going to add some lemon yellow to that area, along with the back hill that I am also adding water to, and a part of the middle hill as well. I'm using 3 paint colors today, and if you're a regular follower of my video, you'll know that this is my standard practice. I will be using a lemon yellow, a cobalt blue, and a permanent red. And I've also filled in the clouds with some water as well. I'm just dabbing the yellow into the sun, and it will also bleed outside of those pencil lines. Just for a more whimsical effect, I decided to do that. And I'm laying a light wash of the yellow in the background hill as well as the bottom part of the middle hill. The next color that I'm going to use is the permanent red, and this will turn into sort of a very light pink to the clouds as I add it to the water that I dropped in earlier. I'm going to make the bottom 2 clouds the light pinkish color, and then I'm going to add some cobalt blue to the top cloud to create a purple-ish color. Then we're going to add some of that red to the background hill and the foreground hill. I decided I wanted my red to be very diluted, so I've added a lot of water to it. If we add straight red to the hills, it's going to be very noticeable in the painting, and that's not the effect that I was trying to go for. I wanted more of a soft pastel look to this painting. Right now I'm just adding some clear water to the top cloud, and I'm lifting out some of that red color because I want the cloud to be mostly blue. I'm adding some yellow to the cobalt blue to make a green for our hills and for some of our trees. I want a darker green for the foreground area, so I'm going to add a little bit more blue to this green after I lay it down. And now we're just going to fill in a few of these tree shapes with that same green. What I'm going to do with the sun is I'm taking some clear water and I'm laying it over top of the yellow that we already put down earlier, and I'm blending it out into the sky as a really soft yellow wash. Then I'll add a lot of the yellow to that sun directly so it can bleed out into the water yellow wash that we just put down. I'm mixing up a slightly darker green to add to the shadow side of the trees, which I usually pick the left side of the tree, and then I'll put my highlights on the right side of the trees. I'm also adding a little bit more of that dark green to the foreground because I want it to be more noticeable than the other two hills. And I'm going to add some darker red to some of the flowers on these hills. And then I'll add some blue to the rest of the flowers and maybe some orange. And this will be all that we're going to do for the painting part of this project. The important thing to note is to make sure that your painting is completely dry before we do the next step, which is the inking. So now I'm going to add my black ink lines. I am using a Uniball Vision Needle waterproof permanent black marker, size 0.5 millimeters. The important thing to note here is that you have to let your paint dry completely before you use even a waterproof or permanent marker because it will bleed into the paint if it is wet. So what I'm going to do here is just outline my, reinforce my frame lines, and then I'm going to outline my pencil lines and add some embellishments with the black marker. Just one other thing to note here is that your lines do not have to be perfectly straight. The whole point of whimsical drawing is non-perfection. Have fun while you are doing the painting and the drawing process. And the cricketer, sometimes the better, just to add to that wonky, whimsical element. So if you want your lines to be less perfect, less straight, you can hold your pencil or your marker towards the back part here instead of closer up front. And then that will give you less control over your lines. You'll have a crookeder line that way. If you hold it here, you have more control over the pencil and pen. But if you hold it back here, you have less control. And so that will make things like this. As you can see, they're not as straight as if I was doing it like this. And then you can add a little bit of flourishes here in the corner if you want. Just some little squigglies. I also hold my marker pen towards the back so that way I'm not blocking the visuals. Otherwise I'm blocking most of the painting while I'm outlining. If I hold it back, then you get to see more of the process. So the sun, I'll just do a wiggly line there, and then I'm just going to add some dots around it. And you can even add another layer of dots around it if you like, if you just sort of want to emphasize that part. I am filming this outside in my new art studio bunkie. So if you hear traffic going by, we're about 100 feet from the road, but it's still noticeable sometimes. So if you hear that, that's what that is. I just managed to get my bunkie up and running. August 1st, they delivered it after a few hiccups, which is just as well because we had a really bad storm in July and a tree came down right where this bunkie was going to be. So if it had been delivered when we had been planning on it to be delivered, then it would have landed on the bunkie, and then I may have had more of a problem than what I thought. So we had to get the tree cleaned up. Which was a 5-trunk tree system. It was quite huge, and a trunk came down a few years ago, and then this was the second one, and there were still 3 to go. So we decided just to get rid of the tree, so that way we don't have to deal with any more parts of it falling down in the future, because our storms here have been pretty intense the last few years. Quite windy, quite torrential downpours of rain. It's been quite hot here for the entire summer. We're desperately in need of rain. Been weeks since we've had a good rain. Our grass is completely dried up. It's brown and very, very crinkly. Okay, so I'm just finishing up the plants here. I don't think I missed anything. Nope, so I'm just going to add some dots here to continue the theme that I started. And these don't necessarily have to be dots, they can be dashes. I thought dots would be nice and a more subtle, whimsical element. Alrighty, so that is done, and I'm going to get out my 0.7 millimeter Posca white acrylic paint pen. And these work, you usually have to shake them up, and then you just get a scrap piece of paper here, you push on them until you get the paint coming out. And sometimes that happens in quite a, oh, it's already starting there, but it can be a huge blob, which if you do this accidentally on your drawing, you can have quite a little blob of white paint where you may not want it. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to put some white highlights on the right side of my objects, since I've sort of already determined that my shadow side is the left side. It's not quite so noticeable here, but I'm going to pick the right side for my highlights. And then the thing to note here is just to be consistent with where you add your whites on which side throughout. Now you can do these as lines or you can do them as dots. It won't quite show up here because this is a very faint part of the painting, but you could do them as dots like that, or you could just do it as a white streak as well, whatever you prefer. Now these here, I'm going to do the white dots there. I could do a little bit of a dash there, and then I'll just do dashes here. And I've been getting some comments from viewers saying that the black and the white highlights really bring out the painting. They make it pop more. And in my earlier videos, you'll notice that I have not been using a white highlight pen, and it does indeed make quite a difference. So I started with the white highlights earlier this year, and I'm quite pleased with that. So what you can do is, if they're not quite as vibrant as you would like, you can let these dry and the white areas dry, and then you can go back over it again with your pen after it's dried, and then that will make a more vibrant white line. So I think this is pretty much the end of the painting. These black dots could also have been white dots if you wanted to do that instead. So this is just a guideline of what you might want to create. So by all means, add as many or as little as whimsical elements as you would like. This was just a simple landscape that I wanted to do for the summer while it's still here. And if you enjoyed this painting, please let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe. That helps out my channel a lot. Those likes and subscribes and comments especially help push out the video to more viewers who might be interested in this kind of content. So that really helps me get more reach to people who would like to do this sort of thing. Let me know if you are happy with the results of your painting, and I will wish you a world of whimsy until the next painting. Take care. Bye for now.